Hours of the best sports talk on Sports Radio The Ticket.
Sweet deal this Friday from Bonefish Grill. Steak, seafood, handcrafted cocktails. That's Friday morning, 9 a.m. If you visit KTIK.com, you give us $25. We'll give you $50 to spend at Bonefish Grill in downtown Boise. Let's bring our guest onto the program. Indy Series race car driver from the state of Idaho. And man, he's getting ready for an Indy 500 in a couple of weeks. Welcome back to Idaho Sports Talk, Sting Ray Robb. How you doing, man? What's up, Sting Ray?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
We've been terrific, man. We've been waiting all week to talk to you on this. We can't wait for the Indy 500 to come, and we love the fact that we have Idaho blood in this race. This has been your rookie year on IndyCar Series. I mean, there's ups and there's downs, Sting Ray. How would you describe it? And what are you learning? Like, what have you learned as a rookie on this series this year, bud?
Oh man, how much time do we got here?
A lot, man. A lot.
I've been learning. Yeah, it's been an up and down year, like you said. So far, there's a lot that goes into being successful in IndyCar, and a lot of it plays into how you handle attrition. And for us, we've been caught up in the back of the field for quite a few of the events, and that leads us to being in the crash zone, if you will. So we had some good places. Texas Motor Speedway is a race we were going forward in, and ended up in the wall just with traffic getting in our way. And this last race weekend in Indy GP here in Indianapolis, it was one that we were fighting hard. My teammate and I, we started really close to each other towards the back of the field, but it was the first weekend that I really felt like I was a true IndyCar driver. And then what I mean by that is that there's a lot that I can do, and there's a lot of variables that are under my control. And so I felt like I handled the variables that I could control very well, and the variables that were outside my control just weren't good enough. So that's what I mean when I say that there's a lot that goes into having success here, because there's just some things that are in your hand to control, and some things that aren't. And you got to have it all come together at the right time.
That's an interesting description, because myself, and I'm sure most of our listeners, we have no idea what it's like to be behind the wheel in an Indy Series race car, and you have to tell people when they ask, what is it like driving, one of those vessels, one of those vehicles? How do you describe it, Sting Ray, driving an Indy racing car?
That's a great question. Irrational, maybe.
Wow.
But absolutely amazing. It's so much fun to drive. I'm a big permanent road course guy. I grew up go-karting. And so for myself, it seems like a home away from home when I'm at the permanent road courses. And so, yeah, I love it. The amount of G-force that we get out of these cars is like a fighter jet. And there's just so much that I enjoy outside of the car as well. The engineering side, the downloading and learning side, figuring out what it's like, and also the media side as well. Getting to talk with fans here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway is one of the best things ever, just because everyone's so excited about the month of May. It's like their own holiday out here. So it's pretty cool. Being a race fan before being an IndyCar driver, now I'm an IndyCar driver getting to see it from the other side. So I'm enjoying it.
We're talking to Sting Ray Robb live from Indianapolis. The Sting Ray gets ready for the Indianapolis 500 next weekend. He's there right now doing the practicing with qualifying going on this weekend. Number 51, Idaho native through Boise and Payette, Idaho. And we thank you guys and your entire team for putting this interview together, Sting Ray. When we had you on this show last time, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, you talked about one thing that you were really, really excited about. You said you had never driven a car more than 200 miles per hour. Well, you've put in a lot of laps since then. And I think that included more than 100 today at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, pushing 225 miles per hour. So now that you've had a chance to actually get off these road courses, get to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, race on that track and go 200 miles an hour, what did that do for your adrenaline?
It is unbelievable. I would tell you there's a bigger jump from 150 to 200 than there is from 200 to 220. And backwards, reverse that. The 200 to 220 jump is massive. And to go over 220 miles an hour, it feels like a rocket ship turned up on its head, and then we're racing it around with 33 other cars. So it's unbelievable. In Indianapolis Motor Speedway, running the Indy 500, it's a bucket list item for any driver out there in the world. And I think that there's actually quite a few drivers that refuse to do it because it's so outrageous. The speeds are just absolutely insane. And when you're going wheel to wheel with these guys, there's no room for error. The concrete barriers at those speeds make a big impact. But that's all part of the fun. You gotta hang it out there, risk it a little bit, and like you said, that adrenaline rush is unbelievable.
Practice, a couple more practice sessions over the next couple of days, qualifying this weekend. 34 drivers are out there, including 4 rookies, Sting Ray being one of them, competing for 33 spots in the field. Sting Ray, I like your chances. 33 out of 34. There's going to be one sad dude out there. It's not going to be you. Today, you were about 24th on the speed list at Indianapolis in terms of practice, actually 26th on the speed list. You're comfortably in the field, knock on wood, this weekend. How do you assess your chances of getting in this field, and what are your expectations?
I feel pretty good with where we're at. The team's done a good job in the last few years to get drivers in the front of the field there. There's always little changes, little variables that change from year to year: tire compounds, wind direction, aero packages on the car, and that all plays into the success of the vehicle. So we're working the next few days, today being one of those days, to get the car right for qualifying, as well as in traffic. And what I mean by traffic is you gotta be able to run behind other cars. They punch a hole in the air, and that takes the downforce off of the wings. And so the car's going to handle differently when you have that. So today was our first full day on track. Yesterday we got rained out, so we're just tweaking it little by little. We have good off-toe pace, so out of traffic pace, and it seems all right there. Like you said, 26 on the grid is not necessarily where we want to be, but it's definitely in the field. So I don't feel too discouraged by any means. I feel excited to get going into this. I know that we're going to get better as the weekend goes on. They're going to turn that horsepower up come Friday. Our Honda power plant is going to be good. We're looking forward to turning that boost up and seeing what we can do.
He's Sting Ray Robb. He's an Indy Series race car driver from the state of Idaho, and he's getting ready for the Indianapolis 500 in a couple of weeks. And now, maybe this is interesting. I mean, like if a basketball team or a football team is going to practice, they're going to practice against each other and run plays and scrimmages and whatnot. How does it work in Indy race car driving? Like when you're on the car, when you're on the track, you're probably not with other drivers. If so, are you just by yourself? And how does that work? Practicing for a race, just you driving around the track, Sting Ray, then all of a sudden the race starts and there's you and how many other cars? Is that different? Is that weird? What's that do?
Yeah, absolutely. Practice looks a lot different than other sports. Most off-season athletes go out, and whether it's basketball, baseball, football, whatever, they'll practice their sport, and they can do all the different activities that lead to success on the field during the season. And in racing, we're unfortunately locked into a non-off-season training program because it's expensive to go to a racetrack, but a lot of times it's too cold. And so for a lot of teams, we don't practice for 6 months out of the year, and we're limited to a certain amount of days out at the racetrack. So a lot of our practice time comes during the week leading up to a race, but especially for the Indy 500, it's a long practice period. This is the longest time we'll get to prepare for a race ever. And so we essentially get a week and a half of just on-track action where we drive with other drivers on the racetrack. So there's actually 34 drivers competing to be in the Indy 500. 33 are going to qualify. So that's that one unlucky guy that doesn't get to run in the race. But we're all out there at the same time, depending on the time of day. They give us a window that we can go out on track in. And so from today, it was from noon to 6 o'clock. And teams can decide when and where they want to go out on the racetrack there. And we'll run in traffic. We'll see each other. We'll practice making those moves that we're going to make in the race. And then we'll do some qualifying running on our own. And so it's just a kind of a back and forth. You got to play the whole game here.
Sting Ray, you're a rookie, as you know, and you're out there learning and trying to soak in as much as possible, but you're also seeing names of drivers because you're a young guy. I think you're 21 years old, if I remember right, who've been doing this for 20 years. I mean, you know, the Tony Kanans, Helio Castroneves, the Graham Rahal, Simon Pagenaud. These are Indy 500 winners that we've actually seen. Who do you fanboy over, and who do you go up and talk to in terms of being a mentor and trying to soak in some knowledge? Who are the guys you're looking up to?
Man, I think you can look up and down that list. Just about every single one of them is someone that I can learn something from. You mentioned a few: Helio Castroneves, Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, Will Power. Just to name a few. I mean, those guys are legends in the sport. And so anytime I get to talk to them, one of the beautiful things about being in motorsports and being in Indianapolis is that it's kind of a small world out here. I go to a gym called Pit Fit Training, and at the gym, they train drivers specifically as well as team members. And so I'll get to work out with the likes of Scott Dixon or Alexander Rossi and, just kind of pick their brain and figure out what I need to learn and what they know that I don't know yet. So it's pretty cool to be in a situation where the drivers don't feel threatened by my asking enough questions, but they might hold the little speed secrets back for me. They want to give me everything so I can beat them. But it's kind of a cool thing to be in a sport where there's 33, 34 athletes competing, and they're all kind of running their own program. You're not necessarily directly competing against one another. We always say that your best competition is the driver that your teammates with. So my teammate is David Malukas, and we always run on a similar program. We're on similar equipment. And so that's who you're relating to most of the time. So they're also helping you the most. They're also challenging the most, and they're your biggest competition. And so that's kind of a cool dynamic to have within a team. And then you have to go out there and compete against the rest of the field.
Davey Hamilton, as you know, is the last Idaho driver to compete in the Indianapolis 500. From 1991 to 2011, he was a mainstay there. 3 top 10 finishes, finished fourth in 1998 after a 6th-place finish in 1997. How much of a relationship, if at all, do you have with Davey Hamilton?
It's kind of funny. Being from Idaho, it's obviously a good relation to have. But the 2 times that I've talked to Davey, he's been awfully friendly, said hello. But that's kind of the extent of it. I think that he's running his own program. He's kind of watching from the sidelines now, seeing what we can do and cheering us on.
All right. I'm sorry I'm asking this question, but I'm going to. Sting Ray Robb with us, Indy race car driver. On a race like the Indy 500, like bathroom breaks or whatever, would you just plan ahead? Like, what happens if you gotta go?
Yeah, the Indy 500 is almost a 3-hour plus race. And so there's going to be some planning ahead of time, hopefully. Hopefully you don't have to worry about it during the race, but what they say, when you got to go, you got to go. So you hear stories every once in a while of drivers needing a seat changed out after the Indy 500.
Ballgame, I wrote that column at the Idaho Statesman a couple years ago. I'll dig that out for you. I have all your answers.
I love it.
There's like 15 different ways to do it, but the bottom line is just go,
man.
Just go in your pants, baby.
Just go, man. Just go.
Sting Ray, how much are you enjoying the fandom? Because you mentioned the fandom, and you seem like a very personal guy. And I think Indy 500 racers are the greatest, fan sports athletes that we have. I mean, I could walk. They cut off Boise State football interviews 48 hours before a football game.
Yeah.
I could go and interview you 20 minutes before you get in a car and almost die.
What?
Because that's what you do for a living. You guys are fan friendly. You're media friendly. Those porch patios that are so famous at Indy 500. I guarantee you've already been to a couple of those. You go to pubs to do autograph parties. How much are you digging the fan side of this thing?
I love it. I absolutely love it. And like I said, I was an IndyCar fan before I was a driver here. And so it's cool to be on the other side of it now and kind of sharing that love for the racing with everyone. And to see their passion inspires me. There's a lot of brilliant, amazing people that come out to watch Indy 500. And, they've been coming here for way longer than I've even been alive, a lot of them. And so it's cool to see they're telling me the history of the sport way more than I already know. It's so cool to see as well, because this is the one sport in the world where you have that access, like you mentioned, where the drivers are just out there. We're out there to meet and greet and be personable and friendly. And at the end of the day, we're still doing a job, and we're quite busy a lot of the time. But without that access, I think that you lose a lot of that fan, because we're tangible. We're real humans, and we're putting our lives on the line when we're out here going 220 plus miles an hour. And so when you see that person, it allows you to connect them a little bit more. And it's not just a car on a racetrack. It's personal. You got skin in the game, and you got someone to cheer for.
What would it mean? I mean, obviously it's more than a dream, probably. Now it's a reality, which is really cool for you, that you actually have a shot to win the Indy 500. Now, you're a massive underdog, obviously, going into this race as a rookie. And, but I mean, have you ever thought about how you would put that into perspective, what it would mean for you, Indy racing, the state of Idaho? I mean, holy smokes, what a big thing that would be, huh, Sting Ray?
It would be incredible. And you know what they say, the best marketing tool you can ever do is win races. So that's our goal, and we plan on doing it. And like you said, we may be an underdog, but that's the beautiful thing about driving an IndyCar is anything can happen. There was a rookie that won in 2016, and off of a whim, crazy strategy call. Why can't that happen this year? So maybe it's us, maybe it won't be. We'll see. The race kind of picks the winner. And being from Idaho, it's cool to have the support back home. Being just a small town kid, this is a dream. This is the same thing that I've been dreaming about doing since I was 5 years old. So to be able to achieve something like that would be incredible. But we know there's more to it than just that. There's more that I want to achieve than just one Indy 500. Maybe it's a few, maybe it's a couple, maybe a few championships as well. So we'll see.
Sting Ray, I grew up in a race car family, not competing, but my dad was a fan from day one. We've gone to tracks all over this country, and to the day he died, he was a big race car fan. So I love the Indy 500. It's got the most disgusting tradition in sports, though. I need you to win this race and tell them no milk. Milk. You drive 500 miles and they give you milk. Milk is disgusting. You probably love it, and you're telling me to shut up because it's a beautiful tradition. But can we get you to win it? And can we get you to, how about some orange juice or some apple juice, or how about a big old glass of ice water?
That all sounds pretty good, but I'll stick with my glass of whole milk for now.
I know.
It is a beautiful tradition, and that is going to be the sweetest tasting milk you could ever have in your entire life. And at that point, you don't really care what the victory celebration looks like. You're just happy to be up there. You got the wreath around your neck, the milk glass in your hand. You're going to enjoy it. I
couldn't agree more. And I'm giving you a hard time. Beautiful answer. Beautiful sport. You're beautiful in terms of what you're doing. Next week is big time week at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But from what I understand with your team, we can get you one more time from Indianapolis Motor Speedway on next week for Media Week. And we want to talk to you one more time before you strap yourself on that rocket. Is that possible, Sting Ray?
I hope so. This is a busy month of May for us, but anytime I get to talk to you guys would be a blessing.
Yeah, we love it, Sting Ray. Idaho's rooting for you. Obviously, Boise, we can't wait to watch this race. And yeah, like Prater said, hopefully talk to you again before we get this thing going. The Indy 500, Idaho's own Sting Ray Robb. Best of luck, and hopefully we talk to you next week. Appreciate you, Sting Ray.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the support back home in Idaho. Love and miss you all, and hopefully you'll get to enjoy the Indy 500 with us.
Nice.
Nice. Okay, Prater. Great. Love Sting Ray Robb. I looked up odds on the Indy 500. Okay.
Of course you did.
If you put $100 on your boy Sting Ray Robb to win the Indy 500, you know what you get back?
Yeah, his odds are going to be massive. $100 to win it. I'm going to guess that's going to turn into, I'm going to go $6,000.
$8,000.
$8,000.
If you bet $100 on the Sting Ray to win the Indy 500, you'll get $8,000 back.
I'm telling you right now, he has less than 0% of a chance to win this one, but you're not into this race for a one-time deal, man. And he's 21 years old. And the names that I've been naming are 30, 40, 50 years old.
Okay.
I think this dude has the right approach. I love his youth. I love the team that he's put together. It's a money sport, and he's put together a financially competitive team. Somebody believes in him as a racer. I love his background. I love his marketability. I think Sting Ray Robb is going to be a racer in the Indy Series for many, many years to come, and he will be a favorite or one of the top favorites eventually. It just won't happen this year.
He's real talkative, man.
Yeah.
Good looking guy too. I mean, you think he would be very marketable but you got to win, huh?
Every stinking race car driver since the beginning of time is a good talker and very marketable.
Really?
It's race car drivers and cowboys. Every other sport.
Is that true, listeners? You know this?
Well, no, I'm talking about interviews, talking, media friendly, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, the rest of the sports, NBA, hockey, football, basketball guys, screw you. Screw you. Cowboys and race car drivers. Give me those two guys every single time.
Hey, our listeners, is the fact that there's a guy from Idaho that's racing in the Indy 500, is that something cool? Is that something you want us talking about? Are you now more interested in the Indy 500 now that you know there's some Idaho blood in it with a rookie with a name like Sting Ray Robb?
I took his answer about Davey Hamilton, by the way, they're not close.
Yeah. He was being nice on that. Like, hey, and Davey Hamilton has Idaho ties as well.
From Idaho, yeah.
He's the other guy. So there's two.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, him and his dad used to run and dominate and race at Meridian Speedway, even the Super Oval.
Talked to him twice.
Oh, yeah. So, I thought maybe there was more of a relationship because Davey's a really friendly dude too. And maybe they just haven't had the time. But obviously that relationship isn't tight right now.
Stop on those soapboxes. It's Prater in the Ballgame. It's Idaho Sports Talk. It's KTIK, the ticket.
This is Idaho Sports Talk with Prater in the Ballgame. Brought to you by RowPaint.com.